What if you traveled to a country that was known for safety and fun but never actually came back home? This isn't just a nightmare, it's real. Tatsuya Ichihashi, one of Japan's most notorious criminals, did something almost unbelievable. After committing a brutal crime, he went into unbelievable measures to avoid any capture, which is by performing plastic surgery on himself. He altered his face, hid in plain sight, and lived on the run for months, all while investigators were desperately trying to find him. His story is one of obsession, survival, and sheer audacity of this man. So welcome back to another Beauty and Crime Sunday with me, in which I do my skincare while I talk about the chilling cases I found this week. And I know, I have been gone for a very long time, but as you can see, I have moved again. And it did take a while since I'm living alone now, so I'm gonna try to be more consistent with the videos. I'm trying, okay? With life and stuff, I'm trying. So now the new videos are gonna be chilling in my sofa, basically. So let's start and let's talk about Tatsuya. Born January 1979, son of a dentist and a doctor. Yeah, the perfect setup for a responsible adult, right? Instead, he somehow decided to become, well, you will see. He did have money, as you can kind of guess, education, and also a 3-bedroom apartment in Japan. 3-bedroom apartment, people, in Japan, which is known for the tiniest fucking rooms. That's basically a palace in Tokyo. And what did he do with all that? You may be asking. Well, nothing really productive, no. He graduated from Shiba University in 2005 with a degree in agriculture, because apparently growing live things is the ultimate goal. I wonder, with a dentist and a doctor, how did the parents feel about this? I don't think they were very happy about this. But instead of working a normal job like a normal person would, he did live off the parents' allowance that they gave him, around like $760 a month, which is, again, a very lucky guy. And if that wasn't really enough, the parents were the ones that actually bought the house for him. 3 bedrooms in Japan, well, while he did absolutely nothing. Now, just because he was lazy doesn't really mean he wasn't ambitious. That's very relatable. But he was ambitious in his own very twisted way. Shortly after graduation, he did try to steal from a woman. And when that didn't exactly go according as planned, he assaulted her. Yeah. Normally that's where things start to get a little messy, but no. Dad obviously paid $10,000 and the problem magically poof disappeared. So apparently the moral of the story is, if your kid is a creep, just have daddy cover it up. Classic. People who knew him said that he was obsessed with his body, cycling around 25 kilometers a day, hitting the gym and reading fantasy comics like a normal person. If your version of normal actually means stalking fictional heroines and obsessing over impossible scenarios, which this is kind of funny, but he also had a girlfriend. She worked at Tokyo Disney, which is the best job ever, and he apparently liked her a lot, maybe a little too much. Starting in 2007, friends said he was mentally unstable, whatever that really means. So March 20th, 2007, enter Lindsay Hawker into the picture. A 22-year-old English teacher from England, so basically brilliant, adventurous, and recently moved to Tokyo to start a new life. So she was basically everything Ichihashi was not. He did approach her on the train, which is the first rule in creepy vibes. And he did ask very weird questions. And he did claim he knows her, which that would terrify me. And Lindsay, well, she was better than I would have been. And she politely corrected him. Sorry, I don't know you. A very reasonable response. And then she hops on her bike and goes home. Smart move, right? That's what you might be thinking, but no. Because Ichihashi decides to do the most normal thing, not creepy at all. He decides to follow her. And I'm trying to imagine this because if she's on a bike, he's running after her. Like, not only like stalkers. No, he's running after her. And he did go all the way to her apartment. Very creepy, very horror movie classic. So once inside, he asks for a glass of water, which I'm already wondering why the fuck is he inside. It's a very normal thing when a stranger basically stalks you to your house to ask for a fucking glass of water. Very normal. But Lindsay roommates were at the house also, so probably she thought she was safe. And then Ichihashi starts drawing her on a tissue. And somehow in this very weird interaction that they're having, he casually gives his email, which is wildlover@hotmail.com. The fuck? Smooth. Nothing suspicious at all. Totally normal behavior, for sure. At the end of their little drawing session, Tatsuya tells her that he wants her to be his English private tutor and that he will pay her well, like $30 an hour kind of thing, which in 2007 in Japan, that's a lot. Lindsay probably thought, sure, what's the harm? Extra cash, new student, a little creepy, but a new student that pays well at least. She did even email her boyfriend to say, oh, I have a new student that pays me well, so the boyfriend knew about it. It did look very professional. So they did meet at a coffee shop, and a CCTV footage shows them actually sitting together. And Lindsay's body language, it does look weird in the CCTV. She is smiling politely, but you can kind of feel it. The get me out of here energy. She's fidgeting, touching her hair, leaning back every time he leans in. You can tell she's a little bit uncomfortable, but she's professional, she's polite, she's British, so it's kind of her curse. So after 1 hour session, Tatsuya goes, oh no, I forgot the money at home. Very classic. My apartment is just around the corner from this coffee shop. Come with me, I will pay you there. Fuck no. But Lindsay, maybe trying to be polite, she said, okay, whatever. She did give him the benefit of the doubt, which I feel like we already seen a couple red flags, so fuck the benefit of the doubt. But this is a very smart thing that she did. She even told the taxi driver that she would be coming down the apartment in like 3 minutes. So to wait for her. And while 7 minutes pass and no Lindsay, nowhere to be seen. So the taxi driver is like, whatever, I'm just gonna go grab another client. And that tragically is the last time anyone saw Lindsay alive. When she doesn't show up for work, her roommates report her missing. Police did go to Tatsuya's house, but get this funny thing, since they don't really have a reason, they cannot even knock on his door. What? This is a very weird Japanese law that they have. I don't know what for. Just not to bother people? That's an interesting law. So they just stand outside, waiting for him to magically appear, I guess. Like it's some kind of police stakeout powered by awkward silence. And when Tatsuya actually sees them, he obviously freaks out, grabs a backpack, and runs barefoot. Because apparently when you're guilty, shoes are optional. He does manage to outrun the police, I don't even know how. And that's how Japan's most bizarre manhunt starts. When police finally search the apartment, what they find is very horrifying. Lindsay's body is inside a bathtub that Ichihashi had moved to the balcony. So I guess it's kind of those bathtubs that are like individual, and he filled it with cat litter, oil, and sand. Basically a DIY decomposition hack, I guess. She was found bound, gagged, and you could see she fought back. Her death was casually by a broken neck. It's basically horrifying. There is no other word for it. So now Ichihashi's face is everywhere in Japan. Posters, cardboards, police sketches. They even made fake images of how he would look like if he disguised himself as a woman. Dude was basically the original Where is Waldo, but for all the wrong reasons. He did keep a diary while he was on the run, whining about how hard life was, eating snakes, sleeping in bunkers, living off wild food. Like, oh sorry bro, that's the price you pay when you murder someone. Empathy zero for this man. And he did write things like, I wish Lindsay would come back to life. Like, what the fuck? Now you do? When life is too hard for you, not when you were doing it? Fuck you. But one day while Ichihashi was walking through a police station, which you are on the run, man. What the fuck are you doing? He did see his own face plastered. And instead of, turning himself in, he decides, time for a little change. I need a glow up because my face is very recognizable, so glow up time. So he literally performs plastic surgery on his face with a box cutter. He cuts off 2 moles that he had and then uses scissors to make his lips thinner. DIY cosmetic surgery meets full-blown insanity. But even that wasn't enough because you cannot really do a lot of plastic surgery on yourself. He would soon go to a real plastic surgeon, under a fake name obviously, for a professional surgery. And that's how he nearly disappeared for good. Nearly. He did try using thread and needles to make his nose a little narrow. Basically a very homemade nose job. But unsurprisingly, he realized that this amateur way of doing the plastic surgery was not going to work. So that's when he got the actual plastic surgeon. But first, obviously he needed money because plastic surgery is very expensive anywhere. So he did become a construction worker, hopping from town to town, running away, not to get attached anywhere specifically so he wouldn't get caught. Over 2.5 years later, he did this for so fucking long. He did gather around 12,000, which most of everything went into his new face. So he had 2 operations on his nose, one to make it narrower and one to raise the bridge of the nose. Rumor has it that he also got like cheek implants, basically trying to become a whole ass new person. But of course, plastic surgery clinics usually take, well, most of them, before and after pictures because they needed to compare. And a spoiler alert, the staff started noticing something was off with this man. The DIY mole removal, because they could kind of see. The weirdly swollen lips and chin. It all kind of screamed, this guy is running away from the police. So the clinic handed the photos to the police, obviously. And just like that, Ichihashi's new face was all across Japan again. TV and newspapers nationwide. Swollen, very weird lips, slightly a little terrifying, I must say. Mission almost nearly accomplished. While on the run, Ichihashi got a haircut also, and added a fake beard, sideburns and a mustache, all a part of his master plan to avoid being caught. But on November 10, 2009, about 2.5 years later, police got a tip. He was boarding a ferry to Okinawa, and finally he was arrested. They took a while to get him, but during interrogation, Ichihashi actually said he didn't intend to kill Lindsay, that he was just trying to silence her for a moment. He even claimed that he tried to revive her, which I don't want to know how he try that. Personally, I think this is the classic defense strategy because sentencing in Japan differs depending on if it's premeditated murder or accidental. But hey, he did keep a diary, which is the first rule on criminal, do not fucking write it down. Not very smart on your part. And the creepy part in the diary was he did write on detail all about his emotion, how he felt, how scared he was on the run, his regret, and his mental anguish. But here's the weird part. He never actually wrote about the killing part or the motive after it. Just reflections, apologies, and regrets on the murder. Like a diary of a guilty man trying to emotionally survive, but not really facing the reality of what he did. And here is the final twist of irony in this case. On the morning Lindsay died, Ichihashi was arguing with his girlfriend. She did storm out, came back later to find the police, which had taped the whole apartment. Talk about showing at the wrong place at the wrong time. But in the end, Ichihashi was sentenced to life in prison, but his diaries, plastic surgery, and bizarre evasion tactics leaves us hanging. How does someone go from a very privileged background, very educated, to this level of horror? Imagine being his girlfriend. You are arguing one morning, you leave the apartment mad, come back and suddenly police are everywhere because your boyfriend has murdered a random girl. That's very traumatizing, to say the least. The level of horror that she might be thinking of, like, oh, that could have been me. So after his arrest and sentences, Ichihashi published a book based on his diaries, claiming he would donate all the royalties to Lindsay's family. But what do you think the family did? They were like, no, I do not want your money, which fair. And because the story is not shockingly enough, a movie was also made based on the book that he had written. The focus, well, Tatsuya's emotions and his perspective in the whole murder. Lindsay's family obviously called it disrespectful, because it is. Honestly, who can blame them? Why the fuck are you giving him the attention of how he feels and his emotions when it's the consequences of his actions? The killer is now literally the star, and the victim, well, nowhere to be seen, I guess. Forgotten in the narrative. The director claims it's basically to understand the psychology or the brain of the criminal. But let's be real, glamorizing a murder while the victim's family suffers, that's a bold choice. And I haven't seen the movie or read the book, so I don't know how exactly they are glamorizing it, but not a good look. So Tatsuya's story, isn't really just about the crime. It's about the privilege, obsession, and a twisted journey of survival at the expense of a human life. Diaries, plastic surgery, escape attempts, a public fascination, and still the shadow of what he did, it still lingers. So what do you think? Is it right to study criminals this way? Or is it just glorifying horror? Tell me what you think down in the comments. This was it for this story. I hope I see you next week. And remember, do your skincare. And if you don't end up like a glazed donut at the end of it, you're not doing it right. Bye bye!